Are you a veteran of our armed forces? Not totally sure what kind of benefits or coverage you would get in Minnesota because of it? Well, don't worry, you've come to the right place. In this video, we're going to specifically talk about what benefits you as a veteran will receive in the state of Minnesota and how to make your life in general easier for it. And be sure to stick around to the end because the last talking piece we're going to have could literally save you thousands of dollars. Well, with no further ado, let's get into it right now. If this is your first time to the channel, welcome, and be sure to hit the subscribe button and tap the bell for notifications so that you can be the first to know when anything new is going on in the Twin Cities and the market that we serve on this channel. Hi, my name is Chris Mosier, and me and the Twin Cities Minnesota Living team get calls, texts, emails every day from people just like you who are looking to move either to the Twin Cities or make moves within the Twin Cities. Whether you're planning a move in 7 days or 70, shoot us an email, send us a message, let's find some time to connect and make sure you make a smooth transition anywhere in the Twin Cities. So these first 2 points I'm going to cover, they're not necessarily Minnesota specific, but for the scope of what we're going to discuss today, for those of you that maybe haven't realized how it plays out, I want to cover them as well. The first thing, nearly every VA loan comes with a funding fee. This funding fee goes directly to the Department of Veteran Affairs and is used to further back future VA loans. Now, not everyone has to pay the fee. This is one to check with the VA on directly, but particularly if you have been a disabled serviceman or woman, you may be eligible for up to $10,000 in savings if you get the fee waived. Varies obviously on your purchase price. However, in general, the closing costs for a VA-funded loan are 2% for first-time home buyers and up to 3.3% for repeat buyers. Now, the beauty of this, along with the other features that we'll get into in a future video just talking about the loan, is that even if those things don't get exempted, if you don't qualify to have it waived, you still have the ability to roll that into the loan, thus decreasing your cash to close. Another cool feature that you want to look into is how the interest rate benefits you. So out of all the types of loan products on a 30-year note you can take out, in general, the VA is the best or the second best. About the only one that will beat it is an FHA loan, which is usually we're talking 0.25% better. But when you factor in, you have to put 3.5% down on an FHA loan, and you can literally put down 0 for the VA. The VA loan you have upon resale can be transferable for whatever remaining balance there is to another veteran applying for it, and all the other things that we can possibly get exempted or waived. By far, if you're going this route, it is the vastly superior product. Again, though, for the funding fee and for the interest rate and those other pieces, definitely check with the VA directly to make sure you qualify and see what is possible. All right, some Minnesota-specific content from here forward. Let's talk about dental and vision care. Minnesota veterans are eligible for up to $1,000 of free dental care annually, and in certain situations, that can actually be increased. The same goes for vision care. You get up to $400 of that annually, just for being a veteran in the state. Now, some of these are a sliding scale that is income-based, so be sure to check your eligibility to know exactly what your coverage will be. All right, so let's also talk about jobs and employment and how that benefits you here in Minnesota. Probably the first one I want to make sure we cover is the VPA, the Minnesota Veterans Preference Act. What this is designed to do is to give preferential treatment in both the promotion of available jobs that are out there, as well as the actual hiring preferences of choosing a veteran over a non-veteran in certain hiring situations. Additionally, say you were dismissed or going to lose your job, this actually allows you as a veteran to have a right to a hearing first before your dismissal. So a few extra protections that are granted therein. Now, beyond work, let's also talk about education and schooling, specifically the GI Bill. Now, I'm not going to get into detail about the federal GI Bill. We're going to talk specifically about the Minnesota GI Bill. But be sure to check directly with the VA or someone you know that handles benefits, because you can stack the federal GI Bill with the Minnesota one. Now, the Minnesota one is also very specific. It is to anyone who has actively served for a cumulative 5 years or more in active duty. This does include the Minnesota National Guard and any active or reservist activity, provided that it took place after September 11th, 2001. These benefits transfer over to surviving spouses, depending spouses, and children of permanently or totally disabled veterans. Now, how this is going to break down for actual schooling is it applies for full-time undergraduate or graduate students who are eligible to receive up to $1,000 per semester if they go full-time and $500 per semester part-time. This will equate to a maximum of $3,000 per semester and $10,000 per total life of the program. Now, let's talk about the trades. I know that's something that comes up for me all the time. We have a decreased number of plumbers, electricians, contractors every year in our field here. So maybe for you and your situation, formal college wasn't the route to take. They've still got you covered. On-the-job training and apprenticeships that qualified are still eligible for up to $2,000 per fiscal year that they will credit you back. In addition, employers that place someone in one of these get $1,000 for the credit of the placement every year and another $1,000 after 12 consecutive months of placement in the job. Now, it is only available to those under the age of 62 and working in Minnesota institutions. The benefits don't just stop there for active service people. We also want to talk about the surviving spouse and dependent education benefit, as it offers some additional tools as well. Now, first things first, who's eligible? It is for spouses and dependents, including adopted and stepchildren, whose veteran spouse or parent died while on active duty, or as a result of a service-connected condition. Now, this one's a little technical. So they had to have been a resident of Minnesota before they engaged in active duty, or been a resident for at least 6 months prior to passing away from a service-related condition. Applicants must be Minnesota residents, and the spouse cannot be remarried. However, there is no age limit for eligible survivors. All those conditions being met, here's what it affords you. Surviving spouses and dependents can get a bachelor's degree with completely free tuition. On top of that, they're afforded $750 every year to pay for books, room and board, and supplies related to their schooling. So all in all, it can be a very lucrative extra piece to pass on to family members. The benefit itself is available to Minnesota public and private schools in the area. The benefit, though, is specific to Minnesota public and private schools. So it has to be a Minnesota school that this applies to. Another great thing that Minnesota does for our veterans are all the recreation benefits that they afford them. Now, for the purposes of keeping this video under like 30 minutes, I'm gonna just leave a link so you can actually go to the Minnesota DNR directly. But as a quick highlight goes, the benefits are numerous. So depending on both your veteran and your disability status, you may get things including, but not limited to, first preference in the bear lottery, a free deer license each year, free hunting and fishing. I mean, it goes on and on. You have the opportunity to be exempt from the field day firearm and safety training if you're a veteran, so that's another one to check into. Additionally, 100% disabled vets in Minnesota get a free lifetime angling and fishing license and an annual free hunting license as well. If you're here as part of your stationing, but you aren't a Minnesota resident, you still are eligible to get the hunting and fishing licenses at the resident rate, and those that are Minnesota residents who are home on leave get to hunt and fish for free. So some pretty good things they try to offer you to enjoy the Minnesota great outdoors. And the last part of that recreation piece is going to be access to our state parks, of which, if you watch my other videos, are numerous. This is one of the best parts of being in Minnesota. All active duty personnel and disabled veterans get free access to all of our state parks, and that is irrespective of whether or not you are a Minnesota resident in order to qualify for it. Beyond the great outdoors, let's talk a little about Taxes, just as fun and sexy, right? Military pay, retirement pay, and survivor benefit pay are all tax-free as well. So again, some extra perks to make sure the money you're getting for those purposes just continues to be a little more lucrative. All right, congrats, you did it. You made it to the last key point of the video. Thank you for sticking it out this long. I know this has been very detailed, but the main point, the one I've been saving for last, specifically, is the disabled veteran property tax exemption. By far, this is the one that can really make a huge difference in the types of properties and types of lifestyle you would hope to have out here in Minnesota. As I said a couple times in this video, you're going to want to check with the VA specifically to see where you qualify for your situation. But in general terms, disabled veterans in the state of Minnesota with a disability rating of 70% or higher may qualify for a reduction in the assessed value of their home. Assessed value is just another fancy word for what the city is charging you for taxes. Now, like I said, the reduction is based on your level of disability, and some surviving spouses may also qualify as well. So be sure to look into that piece for you specifically. But when you factor in how it also stacks nicely with the previous piece about how it doesn't tax parts of certain income, that can really be an overall savings to having a life here in the state. Now, a couple of rules, a couple of understandings with it. It is eligible for up to $150,000 of the value of the home, and it will also apply to the primary caregiver of a disabled veteran. Now, that caregiver has to be designated by the VA, and they have to own and occupy the residence. Additionally, if doing so, the veteran cannot have another homesteaded property in the state. So really, this is going to make the most sense for somebody who's selling a home and buying a new one, buying their first home, or turning your previous property into a rental and moving into a new homestead with this purchase. So just a few things to keep in mind. So theoretical situation, let's say you found a townhome for $300,000. I say townhome because the median home price in the Twin Cities right now is $382,000 for a single family. So unless you're going like way out there, the likelihood you're going to find a $300,000 single family home is kind of small. But let's say we got one that's right on the nose at $300,000, okay? On average, in our locations here, your taxes are going to be somewhere between $3,500 and $5,000 a year. In that scenario, right now, you would literally pay no taxes for that qualifying year, and for every year afterwards, depending on where your assessed value goes. Your assessed value goes up a bit, okay, you're still going to probably save $3,000 to $4,000 and then maybe pay $100, $150 in overall taxes. But irrespective of whether or not you got them all covered, it's an excellent benefit to be able to save thousands of dollars every year off your overall tax burden. All right, guys. Well, hey, thanks for sticking through this. Thanks for coming to watch this video. I hope you found the information useful and that it helps to paint a clearer picture of what the state will do to give you or your family extra benefits just for coming to our wonderful state. On a personal level, thank all of you who are active military or who did serve for your service. When I was 20, I actually did apply to be a part of the Army. I took the ASVAB. I would have most likely been a linguist, but I don't really talk about this very often. I grew up taking Ritalin, and back then, if you disclosed that, you were instantly disqualified for life. So while I did not get to serve, my uncle did, and I have a deep admiration for all of our armed services. So thank you for all that you've done. Thank you for watching this video. If you have additional questions, shoot a comment on the post underneath on the video itself. Reach out to us. There are some complications and details about how all of these stack together. But when it's time for you guys to make a move here or make a move within the state, we'd love to be a resource, love to help this continue to be an easy, understandable, eyes wide open thing that you're able to do. Feel free to click through some of the other videos we have where I get more detailed about different cities, pros and cons, ins and outs, and get a little bit more in depth about the wonderful Twin Cities that we live in. In the meantime, have a great rest of your day, night, or whatever time it is, and I hope to see you about town sometime soon. Take care.